Well, hello there, this is Shane from Shane's Reviews, and I hope that you're having a good day today. Welcome back. I'm not sure when this video is going to go out, but it's being recorded as the first video since the beginning of December. During the month of December, of course, we had a little thing that we did here. Please put a thing up there pointing or over here, wherever it pops up, so the good people of the world can find it. But we did a thing where it was kind of spontaneous, and it was a learning experience for everyone. We got to, for the first time, kind of work together as a team to make something, and it was interesting to see how things would go. It was kind of cool. It was neat to see. But anyway, beyond that, I'm glad that I'm back. Today we're going to be talking about Wardenclyffe. And if you want to know about some of the things coming up, stay tuned to the end. I'll let you know. I'm going to be doing a product review on something, and I feel it's important to do a product review on this because I'm a technophile. But like I said, more on that later. So today's book is Wardenclyffe. This specifically is for Lynette. Lynette, you asked if F. Paul Wilson or other people that I had been reviewing that has these series, if they had standalone books. Now, let me first address this. This is in the same universe as Repairman Jack. However, if you've never read any of those books whatsoever, this is a pretty good standalone book. You don't have to go through the whole thing. You can get a touch of it, see the flavoring, and I think that it'd be a pretty good introductory book to get people where they'd be like, I wonder if there's more. So with that being said, first off, the narrations. I'm going to cheat today. I'm not going to try to use my memory. This was narrated by Eric G. Dove. It was wrote, of course, by F. Paul Wilson. And the title is Wardenclyffe on Audible. It is 4 hours and 17 minutes long, so it's not a super long book at all. But to be fair, there is a lot that happens in this little 4-hour book. So some of the things that we should probably address right out front is whenever it comes to Nikola Tesla, my tongue is still bothering me. It's healing, thankfully. I don't have so much blood in my mouth now as I did days upon days ago, but you would think after 40 some odd years of eating, I would know that this thing here needs to be out of the way of these things here, and I failed at that endeavor. It made me want to reject my own adult card when it happened. Whenever it comes to Nikola Tesla, he's one of those things that really kind of gets me going. And the reason why is because without him, so much of what we have these days just wouldn't exist. Now, granted, we would have eventually got there, I'm sure, but for an alternative timeline, what if that gentleman never showed his face? What if he never made the decision to come to America? What if, instead of going with his life passion of exploring the dynamics of electrons and how they can flow, what if instead he had become a photographer? Or what if he had become a doctor? And then all these things that we depend on, such as alternating current or wireless transmissions. Now, granted, it's not the same wireless transmissions as what he was playing with, but there's just so much to what he contributed to society. It's amazing. And that's a thing. It is. And I'm so thankful that I live in a world where he existed. So anyway, so the long of it all is this. This book is centric to him. Now, even though I guess I would be considered a fanboy, but it's more of an intellectual type of a thing because his grasp of what was going on then was just so much farther advanced than even some people today. So there is that. Now, I'm not saying that I would review any and every book that was given to me about Nikola Tesla, if it was fantasy or fantasized or science fiction. And not so much fiction, or not so much nonfiction. So, there is that. You know what? Thinking about it, a couple years back, a company sent me a book. I'm not going to give the name of it, but they wanted me to review it. This was shortly after I had reviewed the first Rob Dirks book, which was Where the Hell is Tesla, that I was introduced to. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Rob Dirks killed it. This company had sent me this book, and the premises was that Tesla was evil. Now, it wasn't so much that Tesla was evil was why I was put off. It has to do with the quality of the words in the literature that was sent to me. Anyway, so I did attempt to read it 4 times. I never got all the way through it, and I couldn't do it. I didn't want to necessarily tear it apart and just rip it a new binding or anything like that, because somebody had tried. It was evident, but it needed so much work. It needed editors in a big way, big way. Now, back to this. There's a reason why I was wanting to just kind of go and share a little bit of that, because this, on the other hand, isn't that. I mean, F. Paul Wilson has a really good way with dialogue. He has a really good way with characters and exposition and things not getting completely out of hand and micromanaging your imagination on what should be or what shouldn't. It's a very good instance of show versus tell in his literature, whereas the other way it was tell versus show. There's that magical point where you can just give just enough to influence a person's mind when you're writing something so that they can see kind of what you're seeing. Or the most magical part is whenever their imagination is better than yours and they come to you and tell you about what you've done and what they saw as they were reading it. And that is a very rewarding thing when that does happen. Very much so. But this book is a very good standalone book for Repairman Jack's catalog, pretty much. So we start out with this individual by the name of Charles. There we go. That's the name I was looking for. And Charles, he just received a job with GE, but he ends up running into Tesla, and he meets him, and he believes in the same thing, that he wants to leave the world in a much better place than where it was. My apologies to the editors, because it looks like the volume is low, but it is there, so I'm sorry. But maybe this will fix a problem. That's what we're trying to do here. Anyway, so with him meeting Tesla and wanting to do this, and this, there's like some things that start to happen inside of the book. It's kind of neat to see the way that this was incorporated into the previous universe's otherness. Now, we don't get into the backstories of this versus this or this versus this. Now, the little old ladies with the dogs that happen to show up every so often, there's one in there, which was a good nod to previous work. And that was certainly a thing that, if it hadn't been for some of the other descriptors that was inside of this, would have clued me that this is certainly an insert into that universe for sure, regardless of him actually just calling the otherness out in the literature itself. The common bond of this book, though, is that Charles really does care about Tesla and what's going on. And it's a very relatable book as well, because you see a hero that is really downtrodden and just slightly whatever. Just do this thing for me and go away, which is Tesla in this instance. But there's that personality and that personableness of Tesla and some actual borrowings from factual things that had happened. Not Corona, don't do it. But the coolness of it for me was seeing how Charles was not necessarily a lackey, but was working with Tesla and, could consider him a friend. And then the financial advisor, and then the other people that show up, other people that show up that kind of have some same thoughts on what they want to accomplish and what they want to do, and are going to bail Tesla out from his financial woes so that he can indeed complete his work at Wardenclyffe. Which there's so much about that place that's magical anyway. Now, if you'll think back, in the Repairman Jack stories, there's a couple of places where Tesla was mentioned. One had to do with a car that had a batteryless operation, had a little antenna that stuck out of it. You put the antenna in it, you set it down, and it starts to drive towards its power source. That was kind of cool because it was wireless power. There's another instance where Jack Reacher ended up staying at a hotel looking for, I think it was somebody's sister or something, but that hotel was reserved for a time period by this guy that was trying to bring on the end of the world by getting all these people that were sympathetic to feeling these psychic vibes or whatever it was into one location so that he could open up the rift and bring the other through. But the biggest part about that story wasn't them, it was this lamp that was kind of a Tesla invention-ish. I'm using this very loosely, where whenever it was turned on, it was able to pull from that power, and it was causing a portal to open into the otherness. And there's a lot of that follows through those stories. It's kind of neat to see that, and it was also really cool to see that there was a nod to Tesla himself and him realizing maybe what was going on, maybe not realizing what was going on, but just seeing the ramifications of if that was indeed something that was there, how him tapping into that was causing problems, and just the way that was investigated by Charles, because Charles ends up going to these locations where a individual had problems with a pole and another person had problems with a barn, and it was just kind of cool to see that portion of the story, because Charles wanted to use that scientific method of this is this and this is this, and to avoid the fallacy of circular logic of, well, this happened and that was there and that happens to be directly related because timing, coincidence. So he was trying to debunk what these people were saying, but he was starting to find out that maybe they weren't as crazy as everybody seemed to have thought. So there is that portion of it. But then there's a mention of a secret society, which there's been one or two mentions of stuff like that before in these books, but this one I don't really recall it being there before. And this might have been, I could be wrong, this could be the one that was the predecessor to the Jack Reacher story, where he went and found the globe and was trying to get rid of all the monoliths, that kind of a thing. But I digress. There's a lot that happens in these books, and there's a lot of them, and the point is it's decent sci-fi. Is it the best sci-fi that's ever been wrote? Probably not, but I would consider him one of the greats, just for this series. Even though it seems like a guilty pleasure throwaway, there's been such a long journey, and the little pieces of this and the little pieces of that, they really fit in nicely to one another. And then there's the continuation of the story. So this happened well before Repairman Jack was on the scene, of course, in this storyline. But one of the better parts of it was just seeing how the book really concluded. I liked that. It was a subtlety. And a lot of the books that are here of recent lineage, the newer models as it were, they seem to lack a really good wrap up. They seem to lack this is the end. This is where we move on. Unus annus. Mark and Ethan. What a trip. But it is. It's like that complete, okay, the story's dead. Let's move on. I'm not saying that about Repairman Jack, but what I am saying is this book wraps up in a way that I think it should. And so I approve of that. If I were to give a literary award out on a yearly basis, I jokingly have thrown little trophies of this, that, or the other, around, but certainly because of just the enjoyment factor, the joy factor that I've gotten out of these over the years, he would certainly get one from me, that's for sure. Now, with that being said, is this book worth your time, efforts, and energies? If you don't want to tackle Repairman Jack in its entirety, but you want to get a flavoring of what that universe is in a good little small dose, this is the book for you, for sure, because I think that you'll enjoy it. It has enough description to make it plausible. There's not really any moments where you go, oh God, really? What in the world? Why are we doing this? But none of that's present in this. It's good. It works from point A to point B, and it does have your typical structure of good, oh my God, and let's solve it. So there's that. And the characters are very likable. There's a thing that I'm not going to tell you about Charles, and if you read the book, tell me in the description. I don't care if it's months or years later. Just go, well, not description, in the comment box. Just go down there and let us know what you thought about it. I would be curious to see that. So, I think that I have rambled on enough. It's that time. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. If we did something silly or super silliest that you want to make fun of us about, feel free to share that with your friends. We would be more than happy to welcome them along with us. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed and you made it this far through the video. Please do us a solid. It's much appreciated. And now about that product review thing that I was kind of mentioning at the beginning of the video. I'm going to set up something so I can kind of show you guys a product. You see, whenever I bought this, it's the second version of it, and I don't want to rip this company a rear end, but I'm going to. And the reason why is because there's not enough literature, there's not enough stuff showing you what the product actually is, and I kind of feel like it's promising stuff that it's not. I'm going to demonstrate exactly what it's not, but what it is, because it's an expensive device. It costs just as much as a cell phone or something like that, and it's supposed to do XYZ, but so far it's only added steps, not removed steps. So instead of it being something that makes life easier, it's just a device that's nice and shiny but doesn't really fulfill. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, if you made it this far, you're my hero. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everybody else here does too. You're the reason why we do what we do. We love you. Be good. Have a good week. See you in the next video.